All right. Thunderhead UI meeting for July 6th, 2016. Um, so we're going to push the show and tell off for a little bit, just so um, both Kai and Justin are in the office for that one. Plus, it gives a little bit of time to get all the rest of the stuff on master around journeys. So before we get into team discussions, Justin, you wanted 10 minutes?
Well, no, it would be a discussion. I'm
Okay.
doing the spike right now for the one front end build versioning, and it's seems to be a mismatch out there for everybody about what the best way to do things is. I wanted input, show you guys some things of what I found because after this spike, I'm gonna move the one front end build into its own repo in that tech debt. But I want to know how we're going to be trailing the head of the project or versioning and stuff like that. And like I said, it kind of seems like a mismatch out there. And then NPM enforces its own rules and how we're going to fit that into the build. So I wanted to talk about that, kind of bring to the table where I'm at right now since it's fresh on my head.
Okay.
Maybe talk about it. We can tackle these two first and go on that.
Okay. Analysis. All right. Justin, you had this one.
Yeah, so I've just been reading more and more of the Angular 2.0 and the 1.5 documentation and just different things here and there, especially with the way components are going and the new find with and all these different things. One of the things I keep seeing us doing because we're trying to structure our components correctly, we're putting things on the controller, and then watching them in the directive, which is okay. But it kind of binds the name with the controller as syntax to a string that's off of the scope. It's not as flexible. There's some other things out there too. I wasn't going to go too big into it. So I think we should, since we have access to the controller and the closure of the link function, we should do functions as a best practice. Return the member on the controller instead of doing the interpolation. The one weird thing that Kai and I found with this was that for some reason, if you try to do like a Lodash get or a Lodash property on the controller, the way Angular is somewhere deep down in the bowels is doing that evaluation, it throws up because it's a complex object instead of a straight function. And it doesn't like whatever Lodash does, so it throws an error. So it looks clunky right now. If we are maybe in the newer versions it'll fix it, I don't know. But wanted to see what your guys' opinion was on it as a best practice for this.
I was always under the impression that it was supposed to be a function, not a string expression like that. So
okay.
Sounds like what should be.
I like it. That's a good change.
Okay. You want to just add it to the and I'll add it to the best practices for the best practices. Adrian, any comments on that?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Where I added those to-dos.
Adrian.
There was an actual to-do.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I don't know where it is.
I don't know where I got it from.
Okay. There's a checklist if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I did a checklist, but I swear there was an actual to-do thing.
Okay. All right, I'll do that.
Okay.
I wish Kai was on the call for this one. I don't know where he went.
See, some connection problems, so. hangouts aren't playing nicely with him.
No, that's fine. Because he and I were the one who got in the argument over it. So I find our JS doc to be super superfluous and stupid. We aren't using it to generate anything, and we aren't actually, annotating types or anything in like a TypeScript language or a real Java doc, where you can like use IntelliJ to go to the definition. It's all inference and stuff like that. And so we started. You'll see it when we do the demo for Redux and Reselect. We started because we're starting to get really verbose and terse. Not verbose, very terse with what we're doing in Reselect and Redux because it's very functional. And so we're trying to be explicit in explaining what these curried and partial and proposed and all these different functions and what their actual argument types are, because there are no arguments anymore when you start composing all these functions together. You just end up with this function, this function, this function. Anyway, so we started doing type defs everywhere, and then he finally got to the point where he type def thunk, and I'm like, thunk is a function, just leave it at that. And I don't know, I find them superfluous. So I don't know what you guys feel about the type def annotations. I mean, there are certain things, like I don't feel like you should have to type def, like date, stream, vinyl, anything kind of in the Node API, because it's the most furthest along, and then anything sort of built into the ES 2015 and ES6 spec. I don't think we should have, like promise. Everybody knows what a promise is. It's just a glorified object. Everything isn't. Oh, good. Okay, you're here. So I don't know. I felt it was a waste. I didn't know if we wanted to care about this. It's because there's always a PR comment of, oh, you used a type of date, add a type def. Why? So I don't know what you guys felt on that. I personally don't think that we should have to annotate too many things. If it's an object that's a promise, just say returns a promise. If it's a stream, just returns a stream. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to be doing like machine readable stuff with that and letting IntelliJ kind of do some work for us, then yeah, we can enforce it, but we don't really get that benefit.
We don't. Yeah.
So I think it's more a matter of what is going to make it the most clear to another developer that what's going on, and just kind of use that as the guideline. I don't think a strict adherence to anything would necessarily be that valuable to us with the current tool that we have. If we wanted a new doc generation, it's a different story. But
we got rid of our doc generation. We had Angular docs and we ripped it out. We found no value in it, or it wasn't used anyway.
Yeah, because we weren't actually generating the docs from it, though.
That's what I mean. We weren't using it. So
I mean, would we get value out of doc generation at some point? Like if we actually had like a place where we could navigate and see like a proper class hierarchy of your code, like, would there be any value to that?
I don't think we ever use it.
I'm
Careful.
I explored into this
you read that guy or type it.
Yeah, I was just saying, I explored this route quite a bit, and we just did not get any there were generators that actually could generate the hierarchy the way that would be useful.
The only thing that I bring up is the SDK might be considered a different beast. I think that we should be considering to be a little more strict about the JS doc and some of that doc generation in the SDK, because I can see us very easily being wanting to publish that as part of our SDK.
That makes sense.
Okay, so SDK excluded.
I mean, Kai, do you have any strong opinions if we kind of remove the strict use of type def?
Cool, I'm with you.
All right. All right.
So, I don't think there's anything to do with that. That's just that's not the word.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything explicitly in there. No. Done.
We should have a list of acceptable types, though.
Here.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
And then add another to do, just add a list of acceptable types to the best practices. And when I'm in the other one, I'll just add that, and I'll send out the link to all you guys, and we can discuss on that page what we think should be. Right.
All right, so this came up in the big navigation change, right?
Yes.
Oh, that in the UI, the pull request.
What does that annotation even give us?
Adrian and Kai, you guys?
It's a variable, less.
I suppose if, Kai, if you're having speaker or connection problems, Adrian, can you walk us through this a little bit?
You have to have an extra one, so.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Adrian's been having it.
All right, here we go. What? Gobbledygook.
Sorry, why isn't that coming up?
Probably doesn't share.
Oh, I'm
that.
being stupid, sorry.
Slack. I don't understand why you would do that, though, I guess. Like, what benefit that provided?
There's somewhere in that
Yeah, the-
one UI, I have to do it in this one case, but don't do it otherwise.
Here.
So the way that, basically what had come up. with the
Can
conversation-
you join the meeting and show it, or send a link to Colin so he can share the meeting?
Just put it in the one UI.
So it's on the board. It's in the board.
Oh, sorry, it's on the board.
Yeah, I just got it in there. Yeah.
Wanna read through all this?
Basically, they want to avoid the add notation in the module code, but he was using it it was okay where Adrian was using it up above for the initial definition of what the actual base CSS classes.
Height, var name. So what did that give you? You just got the resulting value, like it got expressed, like a how you get put in there.
He was able to extract out those values and make it easier so that later on, if Mark came back to us and, for example, wanted to change the color or button height or something like that, we could just change that specific variable versus having to change it in multiple CSS classes. You can use one button mix-ins as an example of where he's doing it. You can just, he takes in like the height var name.
Mm-hmm.
So there was value in doing it here, but we don't want it in module code because there's really no real value in doing it there.
So it sounds like when you're doing functions inside of Blast, mix-ins.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So that is the way to basically get a variable name by constructing it dynamically, and then to get the value from that name you constructed. You use the double double add notation. So this helped here because we had like 7 types of buttons, and we had a big, and we used these mixins to basically read that configuration and generate the buttons. Chris, maybe you can share the configuration files, because that is the place that will be mostly touched by developers.
What am I going to?
There is a one button variables. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, sorry, variables. Okay. These are all there. Okay, these are just
Variables have basically the same structures, only the variations are default, primary, secondary. So that is the variable I'm using to get the name, but they mainly have the same naming convention.
Okay, so it was a utility mix-in to get the things.
Yeah, essentially, it's just because we had a lot of changes coming down the wire, and if we wanted to like change, if there's one specific color that we need to change, we don't have to change it in a bunch of places. We just change it here and off at one.
Well, I wouldn't think you'd have to change it in multiple places if you're using the variable.
Well, it's not like you're changing a specific color to another color. Like if they want to swap for a specific function purpose, for example, like the button color, and there's multiple button classes that are being applied, we just have the generic variable here to say the variable up. But what was said by Kai and what was agreed upon was that approach of using those variables shouldn't be done in module code. It should just
That's fine. So
that's what the item is on the board.
Well, then there's your to do.
This is to do. No.
That sounds like there's use inside of these mix-ins, basically.
Exactly. Okay. You got it.
all right.
Less interpolation. Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's fair enough. The less we see of this, the better.
Yeah.
I'm like, headache.
They won't see it in the module code, so
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. This will
No, I mean, it makes sense now a little bit, but I'm like,
All right, so just add it to do to add to the best practices, not in module code.
yes, not in the module code.
so we're gonna leave this one alone. Did you want to?
Yeah. Guy, I don't know. Just ping at any time you want to talk, and we'll stop talking. So I wanted to cover. You weren't on it. I wanted to cover the spike work that I'm going over for the one front end build for branching and stuff like that, and what we're doing with it. So yeah, okay. Yeah, just ping if you need to. So actually, pull up the spike if you could. So if you go to
Is it the one you UI4 about?
no, it's just so go to Jira,
Oh, okay.
and then it's THX 20778. So this is, we were kind of deciding on this before we moved the one front-end build out into its own repo. So kind of been a look at it on Friday and a little bit Thursday, and I'm going to be wrapping it up today. So some of the things that we wanted to come out of this was that we wanted the versioning standard and scheme. We wanted the branching strategy. We wanted the publishing strategy of the NPM module, and if there was any tooling to automate the process to help it with that. Is there any questions on what this spike was for before I go on? Okay. So I went over it, and if you scroll down on the, there. So a few things with NPM. NPM does not allow you to overwrite a published module. So you publish it once, it's done. But they do support the Semver pre-release tags. However, it doesn't act like a snapshot does of Maven, you know, where you're just trailing an influx copy thing. You constantly have to keep tagging it from the way I found it. So Semver is already, I think it's a good way. We're already kind of doing it. Just so as far as the criteria of, you know, versioning standard and scheme, Semver I think is fine. It's not a big deal. It has a lot of utility and it's understood. The problem I see is really the day-to-day work on it and when we tag or cut a release and how we do that. So in terms of versioning, I think we should just align our Semver versions with whatever, like we do with every other repo. So we're on major version 13 right now. When we move this over, I propose, this is the trivial stuff, I propose that when I move it over, I bump the version to 13.0.0. It matches our current release scheme. And, you know, anytime we do something off of that for patches, I don't know, I think it'd be like we would bump the minor version or whatever. And we would, so I think that scheme is fine, and I think we should continue with that. So if it's okay when I move it over, I think I'll just publish 13.0.0. It'll be what it is today, but it'll be in line. I don't know if anybody has any disagreements with that. So the next thing is if you're actually doing development on it, this is where it gets tricky. So we're going to have it in its own module, so we'll get the history of what's going on with the check-ins. So that's fine. But then we have, you know, this is being used everywhere. So when you're developing on this, in general, you're probably going to be hopefully just working on this one module, and you'd be testing it without another repo like OneUI or THX or whatever. But if you're going through that, you know, what we've been doing is we've been publishing with the THX number that we're trying to fix. So we publish like, you know, 20, whatever this is, 2778.0.0. And that's the one we go to our branch and we use that, or we do the symlinking thing. Now, I don't think that's a problem continuing to do that. It was a little problematic. Not problematic, it was a little bit annoying to have to keep doing that, and it added some weirdness. So I went looking for something like a GitFlow module, like I want to start a feature on this thing, and then what we would do today, like, you know, if I'm working on a branch that depends on OneUI, I would go to my branch and update my dependency on OneUI. That's kind of what we're doing right now by saying, okay, we published, you know, 20.778, and that's the one I'm using. So that's not a big deal. The thing is, you know, that whole setup is kind of a pain. Getting the branch set up, and then you go and change the version, then you go and publish it, then you go and you update it everywhere, then you're done the work, you publish it again, you go back and change everything. We kind of get a lot of that from GitFlow, so I thought, is there anything like that? There are some out there. I went through like 3 or 4. None of them really work. So I said, okay, well, how do normal module developers work on a team and consume their module at the same time, and I have no idea. It's a mishmash out there, from what I can see. So it seems like the easiest thing to do would be to keep with December versioning. When we tag a release, we start a cut, we do a point release, and we publish that. And that's what that version would use. And if you wanted to change it as you go through patches, you would increment it. But for actual development, I think that on Analytics, One UI, THX, what we should do is instead of having a published version be the dependency in the package JSON, we point to the GitHub, the Git repo, and we trail the head of the Git repo. So as changes go in, daily, if somebody's working on the one front-end module, they make a change, they publish it. You don't have to go update every repo on master or develop. It should pull it in. And that's what I'm going to confirm today, is that if you trail ahead every time you call npm install, it'll see that the Git has changed, and so it'll go pull it down and build it. I think that's how it should work. I'm going to test that today. So if that works for develop, not any patches or anything like that, just for develop, does anybody see a problem with that? So instead of having a hard-coded version that we have to bump manually, it's just when we go to release, we say, okay, we're going to use this version that we have now on One UI, Analytics, or whatever, and we publish that version and use that patches, then go forward. But on develop, it's just trailing the Git repo.
So are you going to have that when you work on local builds, or won't work when you build up in Bamboo, right?
Sounds good. Might need npm update. May need by message. Okay, so sounds good from you. Chris had a question. You want to repeat it again?
Yeah, so it'll work locally for sure, but is it going to work when you're in Bamboo and doing builds up there?
Well, sure. It's just going to pull from Bitbucket.
So it's just going to pull the builds war.
There's no war or anything like
Whatever.
that. npm goes, it reads the package JSON.
Yeah, whatever the package format is, yeah.
It packages it all up there, and we already have. There's already connectivity there. That's how the automation tests get run. They go to Bitbucket and build with the war.
Okay.
So in theory, if you're the develop or master versions of Analytics, THX, One UI, etc., they'll be just in their package JSON, just looking at one front-end build, Git repo. We won't have to go update them all the time. Obviously, it's has the same flaws with anything. You have a snapshot inversion, so if the build all suddenly fail, we'll all know why really quick. That's for develop. It's in terms of patches. I think semantic versioning or semverge is what we should just stick with. So anytime if there's no change, we don't make a change during the build process. So I think this all comes down to the cut and build process, which means we might be impacting Tim, from what I can see. So we would, in theory, we would tag all of our repos for PC13. We tag it, and then we do a cut and we branch. And in that process, we would say, okay, what's the latest module what's the latest npm published one front-end module that they're using? That's the one we update to. And any changes that we push through in our normal branching strategy can't be major changes unless we want to make that choice. So again, it's going to come down to process again. I don't know if you guys had any other experience with modules. Be the thing out there for groups developing that. All right. So I think I'll hammer out more details when I'm doing this, and I'll do a final review. Is there any issue so far with what I've said to anybody? Okay, so then the last bit.
I would just emphasize, I think, getting Tim involved.
Yeah.
Is probably,
Yes, huge, yeah.
he's probably going to care more than us.
Yeah. The last bit is the weird one, which is not the weird one. It's just one that, again, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but if two of us are developed, so Adrian has one bug, and say I pick up another bug, and the two of us start developing on it. Because on master, it'll be fine. It'll be trailing the GitHub repo, or the Git repo. I keep saying GitHub. It's just the Git repo. Master or develop will get those changes either when we merge back in. So just normal branching, temp branch, fix, go. The publishing is where it gets weird. Because when you're done your fix, you're going to want to publish. Which means we're back to that problem of we need coordination. If John and I are working on 2 different bugs and we're merging back, when do we do that version bump? And do we do both of them, one then the other, or what? And so that was one of the things I was going to run by you guys. I don't know how we want to handle that. And I know we had talked about there should be tooling about, like getting what's going in this, but I think we just get that from, Git logs. That's all it is. But if we track head, we only need to version at release cuts or on time schedule, e.g. every Monday. So if 2 of us were working on the module and we both made changes, Kai, we wouldn't bother versioning. We would just make changes in Git and commit, and then we would do a formal blessing of a version. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So I'm fine with that. Because I mean, that was the one thing that was kind of annoying me, was like, if we're both working on this, having to both be updating the package JSON is kind of tedious. So if we just want to make it a formal process, which is once a month, once a week, or when we feel it's necessary, I don't know.
We already had problems where I guess the problems we had run into were with national versions, new version fixes for translate.
Yeah, now what'll happen is everybody will be trailing head on Git. So any changes that get merged in, they'll get picked up automatically.
Okay.
So the actual NPM version just becomes a blessing process. Like,
okay,
we're going to make it 13.1 now. We're going to make it 13.2. I think the dot versions and the minor versions will be more important on patches, but I think we have some time to figure that out. So if this all sounds good, for build tools. Okay. What build tool? Okay. Oh. Okay, really clean and simple tool. Yeah. Okay, I get what you're saying. Sorry. Okay, so that's kind of where it's at. Any concerns or thoughts with it? All right. I'll when I'm done the follow-up tech debt, it'll just be another UI meeting and we'll talk about it. So.
All right. Anybody else have any? We have 20 minutes. Do we have any things just popped up during the meeting? Any thoughts? All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. And I think lunch is here. Sweet.
Whee! I came in at the right time.
See you later.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, there's always